Hi, I'm Rebecca Balcarcel. Let's talk about Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Cask of Amontillado. First of all, what is a cask? It's just a big round barrel of wine, and Amontillado is this special kind of wine that is referred to in the story, with which our main character lures his victim to his death. So let's look at the narrator and how Poe manages to create this voice, Montresor, who is able to manipulate this other man, who is able to kill another man, and all the while have this very calm voice explaining to us how perfectly justified he was in doing these horrible acts. So he starts out with a very confusing sentence. He says, "The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge." Now, this sentence is written in an elaborate old style that marks the speaker as a formal man, an educated man. This speaker is meant to be from a respectable family, probably in Italy, and his voice allows us to realize that he is a man of stature and education. So he says, "I had borne these 1,000 injuries." Well, what does that mean? It means that this guy Fortunato had insulted him over and over in all these little ways that bothered him, and it escalated, and eventually Fortunato actually insults Montresor, and Montresor takes it so personally that he vows revenge. So he is going to get back at Fortunato for these insults. Now, as we go on, we can see that this man is pretty easy to insult. I would not want to get on his bad side. Perhaps Fortunato insulted Montresor about wine knowledge, like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to wine and the different fragrances it has or different qualities it has, what year is better than another. These kinds of things might insult Montresor if Fortunato had said, "You don't know your wine business." Who knows? We don't really know what kind of insult it was, but he says that it got to be so offensive to his honor that he vowed to get revenge. And he goes on to say that he wants revenge with impunity. Impunity means without punishment. So he wants to get away with his revenge, whatever it'll be. And when we realize that he actually wants to kill Fortunato, we see that he wants to do it in a way that will not cause the police to come arrest him, right? He wants to get away with killing this man, get his revenge, and never suffer any consequences, at least through the legal system. And he says, "A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser." So he thinks he's the redresser. He's the one who's going to bring justice to this situation. And if he gets overtaken by the law or arrested, punished, then his justice won't have counted. So he wants his justice to count. He wants to get away with it. Now, he also reveals some of his personality when he says that he did not immediately get back at Fortunato. No, he bides his time. He plays it cool. He smiles to this man and fakely continues a friendship with this man. And he even says, "At length I would be avenged." This was settled. He says he doesn't want to put himself at risk, and he's just going to play it cool until an opportunity presents itself. And an opportunity does present itself at this carnival when he sees Fortunato clowning around at this celebration, and he realizes, aha, the servants are out partying, the whole town is out partying, no one's going to miss Fortunato for a while because of the revelry going on. Fortunato is drunk, he's dressed weirdly with little bells on his head because of the carnival season. So this is a little like Mardi Gras or something along those lines, and he's drinking a lot, partying, and our main character, Montresor, is able to see that this is the moment when he'll be able to lure Fortunato into the catacombs at his home, which is these underground passages where he has stored his wine and also where people from his family are buried. So this is like an underground graveyard where there are, niches in these walls where skeletons are laid out. And this is how burial was done in places like Italy, or across Europe. So Montresor has his plan already ready. And as he goes along, he reveals more and more to us, the reader, about the plans he's made and how premeditated this all is. Now, one of the strategies Montresor uses to get Fortunato to come with him is he plays to Fortunato's vanity. And Fortunato is so proud of his wine knowledge that Montresor is able to say, well, I got this new batch of wine, but I'm not sure that it's the real thing. They told me it was Amontillado, but maybe it isn't. I have my doubts. But you're so smart, you're so knowledgeable, you'll be able to tell whether this is the real thing and whether I got ripped off. And it's rare enough that Fortunato is quite excited. It's like being told, there's something exciting on eBay and you've just got to go buy it because there's only a few of them and it's a good bargain. That's the excitement that they both have over this Amontillado. Now, it turns out that there is no Amontillado. This is just a lie to get Fortunato to come into those catacombs with Montresor. So Fortunato's excited. Oh my gosh, it's Amontillado. I'm coming with you. I'm going to see it. I'm going to taste it. And I'll be able to tell you, because I'm so knowledgeable, if it's the real stuff. Well, Montresor is making it all up, but he keeps saying, oh no, I'll ask this other guy. He knows about wine. And Fortunato's like, no, that man doesn't know what he's talking about. I know what I'm talking about. You must take me. So weirdly, Fortunato insists on going down into those catacombs because he's so prideful about his own knowledge. This is his weakness that Montresor is able to exploit. So he insists, and they go into the catacombs. Now, here we see how cold-blooded Montresor is, because he's already pointing out this nitrate on the walls of the catacombs. This is a mold sort of stuff that is going to cause lung problems. And they would cause problems for any healthy person, but Fortunato has some kind of cough already. So Montresor is kind of savoring the danger here. He loves the idea that he's taking this man to his death, and the man doesn't realize it. And Montresor is milking it. He wants to really savor this horrible, revengeful moment. So he's pointing out, look how the mold is on the wall, so thick, and he explains why there's all this moisture in the catacombs and so on. And this doesn't scare Fortunato so much that he wants to, turn around. He says, no, it's nothing, let's go on. This is Montresor's way of kind of savoring the inevitable death. He's getting his revenge right now. So he's going to enjoy it, which is so sinister and cruel and cold. It's chilling, which is what Edgar Allan Poe is known for. So we see the cruelty of this character, and opposite his cruelty stands this very refined voice he keeps speaking in. He's quite cultured. We know that he's a man of taste, but that doesn't prevent him from being, prideful and easily offended and horribly cruel. Now, there are a couple of details to notice here. One is Montresor's coat of arms and his family motto. A coat of arms is some kind of symbol for the family, and the old royal families had these so that you would have the symbol associated with the name, and it's the kind of thing a knight would take into battle. These are this is my coat of arms. Maybe have it on his chest or something. And he explains that this image of a heel, a foot on a serpent, and if anybody bites, the serpent is biting the heel, and if anyone bites someone in this family, they will crush this snake with the heel of the foot. So that image is exactly a reflection of what's happening here as Montresor gets revenge for insult. Now, the motto is, no one insults me with impunity. So no one insults me and gets away with it. They will be punished. And indeed, that's what's happening. Now we have a weird reference to the Masons later on. Fortunato makes some kind of gesture that doesn't make any sense to Montresor. And that gesture is some sort of secret sign that's kind of a secret handshake of this community of people called the Masons. At this time period, the Masons was almost a business association. It also has a religious aspect to it. But these folks were kind of a fraternity of peers who would all help one another in their businesses. So this is a society of fraternity of men that Montresor is not part of. So he says, I don't understand the gesture. And so Fortunato says, oh, well, then you must not be a Mason. And then weirdly, Montresor pulls out a trowel, which is a tool of an actual Mason, but it doesn't have anything to do directly with the fraternity of the Masons. So this is a moment of confusion between the two men. Montresor knows what he's talking about, that he's a Mason in a certain sense, because he's about to do some masonry as he builds a wall down there in the catacombs. But his victim does not realize why he would claim to be a Mason when he's really not part of that fraternity. Well, he's not claiming to be part of the fraternity. He's only claiming to be able to build a brick wall, which he's about to do. So it comes as a complete surprise both to Fortunato and to the reader when Montresor lures him into this little kind of closet-sized space in the brick and against the granite walls of the catacombs. Fortunato is lured in there and is bound. So it goes by very fast. The text says, a moment more and I had fettered him in the granite. Fettered means I have put restraints on him, handcuffed him or chained him to the wall. So now Fortunato is surprised. Remember, he was a little drunk. Things are kind of making sense to him suddenly, like, why am I a prisoner now? What happened? He's not expecting this, so Montresor is able to bind him quickly and start making a wall. And a pile of bones that was just pointed out recently as just a pile, and it wasn't explained what it was, turns out to be covering a bunch of materials for wall building. So there's mortar and there's bricks, and when you move aside the bones, there's the supplies, obviously set aside in advance. This is quite methodical, it's premeditated. That's what makes it so sinister. And then we even hear the captive saying, for the love of God, Montresor, what are you know, oh my goodness. And he for a while he thinks it's a joke, like, we'll just laugh about this later in the plaza or the palazzo, which is an Italian name for a courtyard, out in the town. Won't we have a good laugh? No, we won't, because Montresor is deadly serious. Fortunato also thinks that, this won't really happen, and he's in denial for a while. But eventually he is yelling and screaming. He realizes that he is being killed. And I think Montresor would like to hear that he's sorry, would like to hear Fortunato apologize or something. But I'm not sure Fortunato even realizes why this is happening. As far as he knows, they've been on good terms for a while. So this is confusing. But it turns out that finally the last brick is going to be put into place. Montresor drops in the torch, but he only hears a few little bells. So that may mean that Fortunato is already dead, or that he's passed out, he's unconscious. Maybe his breathing finally got too labored and he doesn't have oxygen right now. It's really the end, right? Probably he's died. Now, Montresor just quietly bricks up the space and goes on his way and reveals to us, the reader, that this happened 50 years ago. So the very end of the story is I don't know if it's a boast or confession that in 50 years nobody has found this man, that I got away with it. Now it seems like just getting away with it wasn't enough, because he wanted to tell someone about it. So telling us is his way of saying, see, I got my revenge. It's a way for him to show off a little bit. but it's kind of bewildering because you think, well, why would he tell us? Because now maybe he would be arrested. But he must figure that 50 years is long enough and that he's beyond the reach of any kind of law. Maybe he's so old that it doesn't matter. And maybe this whole story has been a boast. See what I did? And now I'm going to finally tell about it. It's like a last flourish of the revenge. The man is scary. And that's why it's such an effective story. Such an effective story. Well, I hope this helps you understand the story. And if you want to talk about other aspects of the story, just put something in the comments, and it would be interesting to me to hear your ideas. Thanks a lot.